Yellowstone National Park. Millions visit each year, drawn by its sweeping vistas and the promise of untamed wilderness. But beneath the surface of its pristine lakes and ancient forests, something far more unsettling stirs. The land here is alive, restless, and unforgiving, its beauty masking a history of unexplained disappearances, violent encounters, and whispered legends. Locals speak in hushed tones of nights when the wind carries voices that do not belong, and shadows move where no living thing should be. Tonight, we step beyond the postcard images and into the heart of Yellowstone's darkest secrets, where awe and terror walk hand in hand. Yellowstone National Park sprawls across a vast, untamed wilderness, its jagged peaks and dense forests untouched by time. For centuries, its isolation has bred both awe and unease, as travelers found themselves swallowed by silence and shadow. Early explorers spoke in hushed tones of strange lights flickering beyond the tree line, and voices echoing across empty valleys. Even today, the park's primal beauty is laced with a sense of foreboding, as if something ancient and unseen lingers just out of sight. What is it about Yellowstone's wild heart that unsettles even the bravest souls who dare to wander its depths? Yellowstone National Park is a realm of breathtaking beauty, but beneath its tranquil surface lies a landscape fraught with peril. Sudden storms sweep across the vast wilderness, turning familiar trails into icy traps and leaving travelers stranded without warning. The terrain itself is unforgiving. Hidden crevices, unstable ground, and scalding geothermal pools wait for the unwary. Yet, perhaps most unsettling is the silent presence of wildlife. Creatures whose unpredictable behavior can turn a peaceful hike into a desperate struggle for survival. In Yellowstone, danger is never far away, and every shadow may conceal a new threat. October 2025. A brutal winter storm sweeps across Yellowstone, swallowing roads and silencing the landscape beneath a suffocating blanket of snow and ice. Visitors and park staff find themselves stranded, their vehicles abandoned along treacherous routes as visibility drops to nothing. Emergency crews work through the night, but the cold is relentless, and the isolation grows heavier with each passing hour. In the darkness, the howling wind carries more than just the threat of frostbite. It whispers warnings echoing through the empty woods. What truly happened to those trapped in the storm when the world outside disappeared and the wilderness closed in? On a frigid October night, Yellowstone's silence was shattered by a cascade of distress calls. Over 30 vehicles spun out or slid off the icy roads, their headlights flickering like distant warnings in the endless dark. Park rangers, seasoned to the park's dangers, found themselves overwhelmed by the chaos. Drivers stranded, engines stalled, and the biting cold closing in. Panic rippled through the wilderness as radio transmissions crackled with confusion and fear. But beneath the surface of these accidents, some rangers whispered of something else, an unspoken presence lurking just beyond the reach of their headlights. As the last rays of daylight vanish behind the snow-laden peaks, the roads south of Mammoth Hot Springs are sealed off, an unyielding barrier between civilization and the encroaching wilderness. Stranded travelers huddle in their vehicles, engines idling against the creeping cold, their cell signals fading into static. With temperatures plunging towards zero, the isolation grows heavier, every minute stretching into an eternity. In the silence, the wind carries more than just snow. It whispers of dangers lurking beyond the headlights, unseen and unspoken. What happens when the world outside disappears, and the only thing left is the darkness pressing in? The ranger describes the night as unnaturally quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your ears and makes every crunch of snow sound deafening. Visibility was nearly zero, headlights swallowed by the swirling white, and radios crackled with static and half-heard voices. As they moved between abandoned vehicles, the sense of being watched grew stronger. Though no tracks marked the fresh drifts except their own, the ranger recalls a sudden, inexplicable drop in temperature and the feeling that something ancient was lurking just beyond the reach of their flashlight. To this day, they wonder what else was out there in the storm, hidden in the darkness, waiting. As darkness settles over the snowbound park, the storm's fury is punctuated by sounds that defy explanation. Low, guttural howls drift through the trees, their source impossible to pinpoint. Neither wolf nor wind, but something older, more primal. Beneath the relentless gusts, a steady, rhythmic thumping rises from the earth itself, as if something buried deep is struggling to be heard. Rangers exchange uneasy glances, their radios crackling with static, while seasoned locals whisper of ancient presences that awaken when the weather turns. What force stirs beneath Yellowstone's frozen crust, and why does it choose nights like this to make itself known? A chilling police report from Yellowstone describes the unsettling scene. A lone vehicle, abandoned on a remote park road, its doors left wide open as if vacated in haste. Fresh footprints pressed into the frost, trail away from the car and disappear into the dense, silent woods. Investigators found no sign of struggle, no personal belongings left behind, only the echo of unanswered questions lingering in the cold air. As night fell, the forest seemed to swallow all traces of the missing driver, leaving authorities and locals alike to wonder what compelled them to leave the safety of their car. Was it fear, or something far more sinister, lurking just beyond the tree line? In the early hours of May 4th, a chilling incident shattered the uneasy calm of Yellowstone's Lake Village. A 47-year-old visitor, drawn by the silent power of a grazing bison, crossed the invisible line between awe and recklessness. Without warning, the animal charged, its horns tearing through the morning mist and leaving the man wounded, physically and perhaps in ways less visible. Rangers noted the attack was unprovoked, but whispers among staff suggested the bison's agitation was more than instinct. Something in the air that morning felt wrong. Was it simply a case of human error, or did the park's ancient unseen forces stir the beast to violence? The survivor's voice trembles as they recall the moment. A low rumble in the pitch black, the ground vibrating beneath their feet. Suddenly, a massive shadow lunged from the darkness, its breath steaming in the cold night air, horns glinting in the faint moonlight. Paralyzed by fear, they remember the bison's eyes, wild and unblinking. But it was the silence that followed which unsettled them most. Even after the animal vanished into the trees, the feeling lingered, an overwhelming certainty that something else was watching, hidden just beyond the reach of their flashlight. What or who was waiting in the darkness, just out of sight? Yellowstone's geothermal wonders conceal a deadly secret beneath their beauty. On a quiet July evening, a 17-year-old hiker strayed just a few feet from the trail, the earth crumbling beneath his boots. In an instant, he vanished into a pool of scalding water, his cries muffled by the thick, hissing steam that blankets the basin. park rangers arrived to find only the echo of his agony and the acrid scent of sulfur lingering in the air. Some say the ground here remembers every trespass, each step off the path swallowed by the restless heat below, waiting for the next soul to wander too close. A fellow hiker, voice trembling, described what he saw that night near Lone Star Geyser. As the mist curled low over the fragile ground, he glimpsed pale, indistinct shapes flickering at the edge of his vision, figures that seemed to drift in and out of existence, silent and watching. Moments later, the air was shattered by a scream as the ground gave way beneath a young hiker. Was it a trick of the steam and darkness, or something far older haunting Yellowstone's geothermal shadows? The park's silence offers no answers, only more questions. Throughout Yellowstone's history, the park's vast wilderness has swallowed people whole, leaving only questions behind. Campers vanish from their tents without a trace, their belongings undisturbed, as if they simply stepped out into the night and dissolved into the mist. Rangers, seasoned and familiar with every trail, have disappeared on routine patrols, their last radio calls echoing with static and confusion. Official reports cite harsh terrain and unpredictable weather, but those who've searched the forests whisper about something else, an ancient presence lurking just beyond the firelight. What force, natural or otherwise, could erase a person so completely from the face of the earth? At the Roosevelt Lodge cabins, the line between folklore and reality blurs with each passing night. Staff members whisper of shadowy figures drifting through empty hallways, their presence marked by sudden, bone-chilling cold spots that linger long after the apparition fades. Guests have awoken to doors slamming violently, though no one stands on the other side. These recurring disturbances, dismissed by some as tricks of the mind, have left others too unsettled to sleep. What force stalks the corridors of the Roosevelt Lodge, and why does it choose to reveal itself only when darkness falls? At the Old Faithful Snow Lodge, the night brings more than just the whisper of the wind through ancient pines. Guests have reported seeing strange, flickering lights dancing in empty corridors, lights that vanish as soon as anyone approaches. In the small hours, some awaken to the steady, deliberate sound of footsteps pacing above their rooms, echoing through the silence. Yet, when staff investigate, they find the floors deserted and the halls undisturbed. What lingers in the shadows of the Snow Lodge, and who or what walks these halls when the world is asleep? In a dimly lit archive room, the park historian leans forward, voice barely above a whisper. She recounts decades of whispered tales, apparitions drifting through the Roosevelt Lodge, disembodied footsteps echoing in the Old Faithful Snow Lodge after midnight. Despite the National Park Service's official stance of skepticism, these stories refuse to fade, passed quietly between rangers and staff. The historian's eyes linger on a faded photograph, her tone heavy with unease. What is it about Yellowstone's ancient wilderness that draws these shadows? And why do so many who witness them remain silent? The police report reads like a riddle carved into the wilderness itself. A seasoned officer describes the search for a missing hiker, tracing footprints through the frostbitten underbrush until the trail abruptly ends. There, beside a steaming vent, the hiker's gear lies perfectly arranged, boots side by side, backpack zipped, water bottle upright, as if awaiting inspection. But of the hiker, there is no sign, no blood, no struggle, not even a single thread left behind. The silence around the vent is absolute, broken only by the low, unnatural hiss of escaping steam. What force compelled someone to stop, undress, and vanish into the earth's breathless maw? Rangers, men and women seasoned by years in the wild, recount chilling encounters that defy explanation. They speak of hearing their names carried on the wind, soft and urgent when no one else is near. At dusk, fleeting figures appear at the edge of vision, shadows that dissolve into the trees before any light can touch them. These experiences are never discussed openly, but in hushed tones around campfires, the stories persist. What or who is calling out from the darkness of Yellowstone's forests? A chilling pattern emerges in the heart of Yellowstone. The most unsettling incidents cluster around its geothermal areas, where the ground beneath your feet is thin, fragile, and treacherous. Here, the air shimmers with heat, and the line between the natural and the supernatural begins to blur. Witnesses speak of sudden chills, strange lights flickering just beyond the steam, and the feeling of being watched by something ancient and unseen. What is it about these places that draws both the disaster and the inexplicable again and again? Dr. Elaine Mercer, a senior geologist with over 2 decades of experience in Yellowstone, describes the park's thermal features as both mesmerizing and deadly. She recounts how, beneath the fragile crust, boiling acidic waters can reach temperatures capable of dissolving flesh in seconds. But during the recent storm, Mercer and her team detected something unusual: electromagnetic readings that spiked erratically near the geyser basins, far beyond what natural geothermal activity would explain. The instruments flickered, compasses spun, and for a moment, the air itself seemed to hum with a low, unnatural vibration. Was it a quirk of the storm, or something else stirring beneath the surface? In the brittle silence of Yellowstone's wilderness, early explorers documented more than just the landscape. Their journals, yellowed and fragile, reveal a chilling pattern. Nights plagued by vivid, unsettling dreams, and a persistent sensation of being watched. Some described the feeling as a shadow trailing just beyond the lantern's glow, a presence that grew stronger the deeper they ventured into the park's remote corners. These accounts, dismissed by some as fatigue or imagination, remain eerily consistent across decades. What force lingered in the darkness, haunting those who dared to trespass where few had walked before? On a night when the wind should have carried the usual chorus of crickets and distant wolf howls, the forest instead fell into a suffocating silence. A biting, unnatural chill crept through the valley, seeping into every cabin and hollow. Local animals, typically elusive and wary, became visibly agitated. Deer pacing in erratic circles, birds taking flight in the dead of night. The resident describes a sense of being watched, as if something unseen prowled just beyond the tree line. What could silence the wild heart of Yellowstone so completely? And why did it choose that night? In the dim glow of his lantern, the former ranger's hands tremble as he recalls the endless nights spent alone in Yellowstone's backcountry. He speaks of a silence so profound it presses against the mind, amplifying every distant owl and rustling shadow. Memories, he says, become distorted. Faces of lost hikers flicker at the edge of vision, and sometimes something colder lingers just beyond the firelight. The isolation gnaws at reason, and sleep becomes a fragile, haunted refuge. Even now, he wonders if the true danger was ever the wilderness itself, or the things that waited unseen in the darkness. The National Park Service maintains a firm public stance. There are no ghosts, no unexplained forces haunting Yellowstone's forests and geyser basins. Yet, behind closed doors, rangers and staff exchange uneasy glances when the subject of the park's unsolved mysteries arises. Files are quietly marked as inconclusive, and late-night radio calls sometimes go unreported. The official record is clear, but the silence between the lines suggests something else, something the Park Service would rather not name. What are they truly afraid of acknowledging in the heart of Yellowstone's darkness? In the suffocating silence of Yellowstone's backcountry, a search party stumbles upon a missing camper. He sits motionless beside a dying campfire, lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. His eyes are fixed on something only he can see, something that has stripped him of speech and reason. Clutched in his shaking hands is a battered notebook, its pages scrawled with frantic, indecipherable symbols and haunting sketches of twisted figures lurking among the trees. To this day, no one has been able to explain what he saw or why the forest refuses to give up its secrets. The notebook's pages are stained and worn, each one filled with frantic sketches of gnarled, contorted trees that seem almost to writhe on the paper. Among the branches, shadowy figures linger, half-formed, faceless, always watching from the margins. Tucked between the drawings is a crude map, its lines shaky, guiding the reader toward a remote, unmarked region deep within Yellowstone's wilderness. No official trail leads there, and the area is absent from any park brochure. What compelled the author to chart this forbidden path, and what did they hope or fear to find waiting in the darkness? The official explanations are always the same: unpredictable weather, treacherous terrain, and the ever-present threat of wildlife. Yet, for every logical answer, there are whispers of something deeper, something that gnaws at the edges of reason. Survivors speak of a suffocating dread, a sense that the land itself is watching, waiting. Some claim the park's geothermal features conceal more than just boiling water, hinting at ancient forces best left undisturbed. As the sun sets behind the jagged peaks, one question remains: are these tragedies merely accidents, or is Yellowstone guarding secrets we were never meant to uncover? Yellowstone endures as a landscape of both breathtaking beauty and haunting mystery. Beneath its pristine snow and swirling steam, ancient secrets lie dormant, waiting for the unwary to stumble upon them. The silence here is never empty. It is heavy with stories that have never been told, and questions that remain unanswered. As night falls, the line between wonder and dread blurs, leaving us with a chilling uncertainty. What really happened that night in Yellowstone? The truth may be buried deeper than anyone dares to imagine,